Hello and welcome to today's Collaboard demo. I want to show you in this next 30 minutes all the features of Collaboard and some use cases how you can use our online whiteboard app to improve collaboration, remote working, creativity, and also online learning and teaching. So our agenda today is the following. So first of all, I will show you what is Collaboard. I will give you a little bit of a background. Then we will have a complete feature overview, so we understand what you can do with Collaboard, and we will dig in some specific use cases so you understand how our customers are using Collaboard. Okay, let's take off together and let's get a short overview. What is Collaboard? So when we developed Collaboard, our idea was to digitize the flip chart, the blackboard, whiteboards, project rooms, so all the elements you find in project rooms and on whiteboards like sticky notes and writing like on the blackboard. This is what we wanted to digitize, and Collaboard is in the end online whiteboard solution which you can access from any web browser, and you can invite others to your board and collaborate in real time. And this is one of the core concepts of Collaboard. So when we talk now about remote meetings, we always have a stream to share the audio and the video conference and the screen, but we don't really collaborate. And this is where Collaboard comes in. So when you have a remote meeting, you use an audio and video conference system, and instead of screen sharing, you use an online whiteboard in which you can collaborate together in real time. And this is what is Collaboard made for. So let's start with a feature overview. And by the way, everything I'm doing now, I'm already doing in Collaboard. And one of the major features of Collaboard are the sticky notes. So you can add different kind of sticky notes, choose different colors. They're perfect for brainstorming. And let me show you how this works. So on the left, you have this toolbar, and over this toolbar, you can add now elements to the whiteboard. And in our case now, we want to add a sticky note. So let's choose one. We can decide if you want to have squares or rectangles, if you want to add 1 or 5 at a time. So let's add 5 sticky notes at one time and squares one. So what you see now, they appear immediately. You can move them around. And now you have the option to write in a sticky note your idea. And if we look now a little bit closer, for every object, we have here this context menu. And over this context menu, we can now adjust, for example, the font. We can make it bold. We can change the font style if we want, the font color, and so on. So there are a lot of options to style what you do with a sticky note. And this is quite cool because when you work creatively, when you use sticky notes in a workshop, you have a lot of different options. And of course, you can always change the color of a sticky note afterwards. Then next to sticky notes, we also have the option that you can draw and sketch with a pen in Collaboard. So here you see 2 examples, and I will shortly explain to you how we are doing that. So if you look here on the left panel again, you can choose here the pen. And what you see in this case that we have 5 different pens. So we have like a pencil, a normal pen, a brush, a highlighter, and a nib or a marker. And the idea when we developed Collaboard was that we provide you a set of different pens you already know from working on a flip chart or on a blackboard. And with these tools, this allows you to visualize things for a workshop. This allows you to create paintings like the city. And the cool thing is all these inks, they stay ink. So in the end, you can also change the color afterwards, for example. And you can do a lot of things with this ink. And imagine now you have multiple people joined to the same Collaboard project, and every stroke they do, all the others see this in real time. So there's almost zero latency, and you can use this for collaborating visually in a very cool way, yes. Okay, let's move on. So besides drawing and sketching, this is quite useful when you have a tablet or another device which supports pen input. If you don't have that, you can use Collaboard as well. And in this case, you would use just text objects. And you see here that we have many different kind of font types, of colors. And the idea is when you work with Collaboard, that everything you create has a beauty from the beginning. So you don't need to digitize things afterwards. You don't need to spend a lot of time after your workshop to make things more appealing. So when you create something, it already looks good and you can reuse that, you can share it with others. And this is why we implemented here many different kind of text. And to add a text, this is quite easy. So you just click here, also on the left panel, then select the color. So to add the text. And now you can write in here your idea. You can move the text around, make it bigger, and so on. So if you want to work really fast with Collaboard, there is also a trick. So Collaboard remembers always the last item you created. And if you make a double click on the canvas, you always get the last item. And in this case, it's the last text you get. Then let's take this idea of the online whiteboard a little bit further. So we have the notes, we have the option to draw, sketch, we can use text, and we also allow you to upload documents in Collaboard. And at the moment we support PDF, Word files, PowerPoint and Excel. And if you upload a document like I did here, this is our product presentation of Collaboard as a PowerPoint presentation which has 29 slides. So what I can do here, I can go from one slide to another. So this is quite cool. And if I want now to work on slide 4, for example, I have here the option to extract one specific slide, or I can also say I would like to extract all the slides, so slide 1 to 29. And when I do this, when I extract slides, then what is happening? They are created next to the document, and I can start collaborating and working with them. So in this case here, you see that I got here the slide, then I put here a sticky note to add some comments, but I also use the highlighter and the pen to annotate this document visually. And this is quite a cool way to collaborate now a document. And if you want to save now these annotations, like here, so now you would like to save this again, you have always the option to select an area in Collaboard, like I'm doing here now. So I'm selecting the whole area. And now what I can do, I can export this selection, and we are creating now an image you can use and share with others, and it's downloaded to your PC. So you see here, then you get the image with a very high resolution. So you have the option to reuse that. In case you would like to get the original file back, you can do the following. So if we go here to the original file, you always have the option to download that. And if you download the original file, then you get this back and you can also reuse that. And this is the way how we work now with documents in Collaboard. And let's move on to the next feature. So of course, we are also able to add images to our canvas. And here I would like to show you one of our oldest Collaboard user. He's 87 years old and he's an architect. And you see him working on a 75-inch smart display. And he's using the pen to annotate one of his plans. And this is quite cool to see how he was able to adopt Collaboard in a very short time and also work on these big interactive displays. And with this, I want to tell you that Collaboard works perfectly on your laptop, on your Mac or tablet, but it's also cool to use on these large interactive displays. And if we have a look at some other images we see here, we have now different options to put images to the canvas. And let me show you how this is done. Of course, we are also doing this over this panel on the left. And if I click here on image, I have now the option to search the web. So here I already typed in my name and I can add now an image of myself. but you also have the option to upload images from your computer, or if you use a device with a camera, you can also take a photo and add this directly to the Collaboard canvas. So this is the way how we are working with images in Collaboard. And now let's have a look about videos, so where we go a step further in being multimedia. And what we see here now, we see two videos. So one is uploaded to Collaboard itself. This is the one on the left, and on the right we see a YouTube video which is also embedded directly on the Collaboard canvas. And what I'm doing now, I play the video which we uploaded, and what you see here is somebody using an iPad, and this girl here is painting a bunny directly on the iPad with Collaboard. So this is one way to bring videos to Collaboard, to upload them. And another way is to use the YouTube search, the integrated YouTube search. So if you click here on media, and then we can search the web. And if we search now YouTube, for example, for Collaboard, then we get here some videos. And in this case, we just add now this video to the canvas. It becomes an object like all the others, so we can move it around. And when we play the YouTube video, it jumps up front, and then we let the YouTube video run. And this is used quite often, for example, to add tutorials, to add product videos. And this is a nice feature if you want really to go beyond the online whiteboard idea and make this to a multimedia workspace. And this is why we also support videos. And a last way how you can bring in videos to Collaboard, this is also if you have a device with a camera, you can record the video with your camera, you can leave a message on the board for somebody else, and this makes the whole collaboration experience more personal, and I highly recommend you to do that. Don't start writing a lot of text to people on the online whiteboard, make it more personal, leave a video message, and this is what Collaboard is made for, so try this out. So let's move now to one of the last features I would like to show you. We have here in Collaboard. So we also work with shapes, and we have the ability to put shapes on our canvas. And these are real shapes. So if we make an example here on the left, we just click on the toolbar again, and now we say we would like to add a shape. So we really love Collaboard, so let's use a heart. Make this a little bit bigger, and this is now a real shape. You may know that from PowerPoint. You can make a double click and you can type in here some text, and if you go to the menu of the shape, you also can have a fill color. It's possible to adjust the border, make this a little bit thicker, and there is also the option to adjust the font. So in case of the heart, we would like to have another font, so to make this a little bit more appealing. And shapes are quite cool in Collaboard. It's a limited set of shapes at the moment, and very soon we are going to add more shapes. So we integrate with an existing shape library where we are going to add more than 3 million shapes. So basically then you will find a shape for every case you need one. Now I would like to show you a way how you also can work with shapes and what you can do with Collaboard. So here you see that I used some shapes to create a mind map, and basically all the objects you upload to the Collaboard canvas you can use and link with each other. So we see here now this central node, the mind map one, is linked to all the others, and this is somehow glued together. And let's make now an example. So if you make a double click, also the last shape will be added. This is what we have seen now. So let's take now the heart which we created above. And when you want to create a connection, you always see these dots around the object when you selected that. And now you can connect it. We can connect it here as well. And in this case, maybe the connection is not what we want to have. So we have also the option to adjust the connection in a very detailed way. So to do that, just click on the connection. And now you have the option to adjust the type. So in this case, we would like to have not a curve, we would like to have another kind of line. It should have the same color like the heart. We would like to use some arrows, and the line style should be dashed, and we would like that we see the line a little bit better. And so in this case you can use to adjust these connections, and they're basically used for mind mapping, but also to visualize a process, a workflow. And this is a cool way how to use these connections together with shapes and all the other objects to show how things belong together on this infinite whiteboard canvas. Okay, so let's move on and let's have a look at the last thing which we can add to Collaboard. And in the end, if you think about Collaboard, it's a very complex website. And this means we can also embed other web content to Collaboard. So you see, I already embedded here the Collaboard website. And to show you how this is done, I will do this again. So I just press now delete on my keyboard and I start to add it again. So what I need to do in this case here, I just need to type in an URL. This can also be the code of an iframe, for example. And what we're doing now is we're embedding the website. Now let's make it a little bit bigger. And in this case, we have now a full working website where we can click on buttons, where we can go through. We can even fill out a contact form. We tested this with other applications like Google Maps, with some survey tools. And this is working quite nice. So with that, you have the ability to bring even more content to Collaboard in a very cool way. Yes, and that's basically all the features you can use in Collaboard to put content on the canvas. And if we think about the canvas, it's literally infinite. And to show you now the whole project I created, we have here now the option to click on this symbol, which is doing a zoom action. And in this case, if I click on that, we zoom completely out and get the complete overview about the project and everything I have shown you so far. Now, as a next step, let's dig into some use cases. So now let's zoom in again to the board. And in this case, we would like to have a look at some use cases. And one of the main use cases people Collaboard are using is for remote workshops. So this is quite cool because you have like experts, coaches, consultants, your whole team from all over the world, and they connect to the same board and they are able to work together in real time. So what you see here on these pictures is a workshop we did with two interactive displays. So these are 84 and 86 inch touchscreens. So this is a very cool way to do that. But of course you don't need this to do a workshop with Collaboard. Now the question is, how do we bring all these people we want to have in the workshop to the same board? And there is an option to invite now people to Collaboard. And this is what I want to show now. So if you look here on the upper right, we have this share project icon. And if I click on that, I have now different options to invite people. So the first option we see here is the possibility to add people by sending them an email. So in this case, we just enter the email address and then people get an email. So this is the most secure way because we know that the person who receives the invitation has access to this email account. There are other ways. It's also possible to share a link or a QR code. And you can do this for registered users. So these are people who have a Collaboard account. So people who registered in Collaboard went through a verification process, so we know they exist. This is one option. And then there is the option to invite guests to your board. And the guest user is a user who does not need to get a Collaboard account. So basically you just invite him to one board. He can access that, but he does not need to have a Collaboard account for that. And if you invite now somebody to your board for your workshop, you can also define what permissions this person has when he accesses the board the first time. So in this case, we can give viewer or editor rights. And let's now say we would like to invite the guest and provide him only viewer rights. And Collaboard is a tool also made to really provide a high level of security for all your data you put there. And therefore you have now the option to say for how long this link shall be valid. So let's take 1 hour. You can even use a password to protect your board. And then you have also the option to require a user identification. And if you require user identification, then the guest you invite, he needs at least to give a name so you know who the guest is who is accessing your board. Okay, let's try this now. So we generate a link. Okay, we did that. And now I would like to simulate that. So I'm adding now a second browser. And in this case, I'm just typing in here now the link. And on the right side, I'm now a guest. And as a guest, I'm come directly to the board. So I'm a guest now who accessed here the board. And in this case, you see that on the browser on the right, I don't have a panel where I can do anything. So I have just the option to basically browse around the board, but I have no permissions to do something. So to change this now, because maybe you want the people who access now your board to collaborate in your workshop, you have now the option to change the access permissions. And you do this by clicking here on the icon of the user. And when you are the owner of the board, you have now the option to give the guest different rights. So in this case, we say, okay, we would like to give the guest the editor rights. And as soon as we do that, you see here in this case, we have here also the menu so the guest can start doing things on the board as well. And if he's doing that, so let me show you how this works. So in this case, he's just creating a yellow sticky note. Then you see now the yellow sticky note appears here as well. And as soon as the guest has written down his idea and leave the sticky note, you see what he's doing. So this is really in real time. When you're doing now a remote workshop, you also need to guide the people. And this is a very difficult task. And this is why we have some features in Collaboard which help you doing that. So we have a feature called presentation mode. There is a timer and there is a get attention button. And I would like to show you now how this works. So let's start with the presentation mode. And in this case, I just click here and start the presentation mode. So you see now Albert here, he started the presentation mode. And on the right in the other browser, you still see the guest. And as soon as Albert is moving around on the canvas, you see that the guest is automatically following him. And the cool thing about the presentation mode is it's like screen sharing, just using only Collaboard, and all the other people except the person who started the screen share, the presentation mode, don't have the option to do anything. So they can't navigate in the canvas and they don't have the option to anything. So in this case, you can completely steer what they are doing. And this is the presentation mode. So as soon as I'm ending this, you see now that the other people as well have the option to start adding a card again and do some things. Then we also have the get attention option, and this is a little bit different than the presentation mode. So maybe I would like to get now the attention only of a few people to see the same videos as I do. And I will show you how this works. So you click here on the get attention button, and now you see all the people who are on your board, and now you can select either all, or you can choose the persons from who you want to get the attention. And if you click on get attention, it's quite simple. So the other people just jumps where you are, and the difference to the presentation mode is now they can continue moving around, or most important, they can start and adding as well now some content and interact with what you're doing. So the get attention mode is more like something like in a virtual workshop where you say, hey, look here, and you bring the people you want to the area of the board where you are. And the third tool to help you during remote workshops is the timer. So if we start here now the timer, we just click on start, and you see now here the guest also sees that the timer is counting down, and you as a workshop facilitator, you have now the option to add some more time. So let's add 1 minute or 5, so you can decide that. But you can also remove time, and if we go below 1 minute, then you see the timer starts blinking and it's getting red. So the people know, oh, okay, the time we can spend now for this task will be over very soon. And as soon as the timer ends, the people all get a notification so that the timed session is now over. Yeah, and these are these workshop facilitator tools. So now let's go back to the board of Albert again. And let's move to the second use case. So we have seen the first use case is about Collaboard for workshops. And a second use case is about Collaboard for creative people. Because Collaboard is very good for doing brainstorming sessions, also for creating mind map, doing design thinking activities. And we have some options and tools which help you doing this creativity session. So I would like to give you an idea. You have 5 people in your session, and the task is that every person is adding 5 ideas. So you will end up with 25 ideas. And now you need to figure out which idea is the best and ask all the people of your team. This will take a lot of time. So in Collaboard, we added a feature called voting and rating, which helps you exactly improving this process. And let me show you how this works. So in this case here, I can click on a sticky note, on an image, or on other objects. And what I can do in this case here, I have now the option to click here on the menu. And now I can either vote on it, so I can say thumb up or thumb down, or I have the option to rate an idea. And this is quite cool because maybe you use the voting to figure out which are the 5 best ideas, and then you use the rating to see which of these 5 best ideas gets the best rating. And then this is what you can use for your next session, so you can start working on this idea. So after all the people voted and rated, you have now the option to display the results. And this is done like that. So you click here on this thumb symbol, and then you see for all the objects which has been voted and rated, you see the results directly, and you can move them around, so you can sort and cluster them if needed. And this is the way how voting and rating works in Collaboard and helps you during creativity sessions. There is also a way of exporting. We already have seen how to export the selection, but there is also a way to export the whole canvas. And this is done like this. So if you click here on the upper right on the settings, you have now here the option to export the whole canvas as an image, and then you can reuse that, you can send it to somebody by email or whatever. So this gives you just a complete export with it's a PNG we generate with a very high resolution. So you have the ability to recognize all the details on this export. So this is the second use case, and now let's have a look at the third use case. And this is basically one of the most used use cases in 2020. So Collaboard was used by a lot of universities, schools, but also institutions who provide trainings for remote teaching, remote training, online classes. And here the cool thing is that we have this real-time interaction between student and teacher. So there is an engagement. It's not just that the teacher is showing PowerPoint slides or something like that. You can really create interactions with your students on the board. And this is what people really like when they use Collaboard. And of course, we also have some features which support remote teaching and learning. And so far we have seen that the Collaboard is always a whiteboard. But we have also the option to transform Collaboard into a blackboard. So if we go back here to the settings, we have the option to switch to a dark mode, for example. And in this case, it looks now a little bit different. And you have also the option to adjust different background colors. And this is what I use often when we are doing workshops. So we have always a group in the blue room, a group in the green room, a group in the black room, and so on. And this is quite nice then for a facilitator or for a teacher to know, okay, these are the students in this room, and so on. So this is one feature which allows us to do remote teaching and training. Of course, there is the option to ink here on the board, and you can use this to write down math formulas, chemistry, like molecule diagrams, and so on. So there are a lot of possibilities to use Collaboard to learn and teach online. Let's go now back to the light mode and the whiteboard again, and let's close the settings. So a second element we already have seen is the option that you can manage the user permissions. So this is done in a quite easy way if you go here on the left. So we have 4 roles in Collaboard. We have the viewer and the editor, which can be assigned to a guest. And if you have registered users, you can also have a viewer and the editor mode, but there is also the option to give somebody facilitator role or then change the ownership of the board. And if you give to somebody the facilitator features, then he just have the option to start the presentation mode, use the get attention button and the timer. So then you can have also multiple facilitators in your workshop. Yeah, and these are some of the main use cases Collaboard is used at the moment. And of course, we have also some templates. So in Collaboard, you have templates for retros, for SWOT analysis, opportunity canvas, and so on. So we have a library of templates you can use. Also, we have some games, because when you are nowadays a lot of time in online meetings, it's also cool to play a little bit around. And when you bring people to the board, it's quite nice if you don't start directly with the workshop, if you create a cool onboarding session to make them familiar with the new tool. And this is something Collaboard can help you doing. Okay, so this is more or less a complete overview about the most relevant features in Collaboard. I hope you enjoyed these sessions, and what you need to do next is quite simple. So you just go to this website. It's www.collaboard.app. There you can register, can create an account, and then start using with Collaboard. In case you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to provide you a personal demo to help you out. And thank you very much for your attention, and have a great time.